So we'll kick things off. We've got Mr. Eric Weber here with Mind Matrix, and
Oh, great.
today we're going to talk about the marketing growth stack. And and we did talk about this a while back, kind of briefly, but I think one of the most important things here is, when we think about our stack in our business. We think about all the technology items, the technology components that are part of the stack. We don't necessarily think about, what's part of our marketing stack, that marketing growth stack. And I think it's a critical thing. And I think it really frames it differently. And it just kind of paints it in a way that allows us to see that we have to put just as much time and energy into, our marketing growth stack as we do the rest of our stack. I don't, Eric, I don't know if this is something that you guys have done on purpose as far as framing it that way, but I like it. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a word I just sort of coined. I always hear what's in the stack and this and that. I'm like, well, why not growth? You know,
Yeah, no.
keep it simple and along the same, terminology.
There we have it here, ladies and gentlemen. You heard here first live. Eric Weber has coined the growth stack, and
Trademark.
there
It's a
we go. There we go. And so, Eric, I'm going to have you kind of jump in and talk a bit. I don't know if you don't have a slide deck, that's completely fine. But if you do have something, you have co-host capabilities to share whatever you need to. But let's just kind of jump in and start talking about
yeah,
the growth stack. We'll have some general discussion, for 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll just open it up and just be more casual
sure.
with the entire group.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can pull up what I that one I did from the prior podcast. You just kind of
Yeah.
use that.
Yep. And does everybody know Eric? Does anybody not know Eric?
Yeah, I should
Anybody?
probably introduce myself.
I mean, Eric is out and about, at some events out there. Eric, maybe just give us a little background just before we get started,
Yeah.
about you individually and your career and your marketing aspirations, and then also, just a brief overview of your role at Mind Matrix.
Yeah, so my name's Eric Weber. I'm based here in Pittsburgh, PA. As you probably see from all the Steeler gear here. But
Somebody
been in,
has to buy that crap.
yeah, we buy a lot of it too. We keep them in business there. But yeah, I've been in sales now for since 2001. So what, 23 years. Sold financials for Morgan Stanley, phones at Verizon, education. And then for almost the past 10 years, I've been here at Mind Matrix. January will be the 10-year anniversary.
Nice.
And what I do here, sales. I start off banging the phone to set appointments, just to kind of, cut your teeth, screw up and learn what's going on. And yeah, I think month 4 brought 4 deals in, and that was it. Just kept going from there. And we have 2 sides of our business here. The main component is partner relationship management, ecosystem enablement. We work with a lot of vendors that sell through partners. I'm sure you're partners with some of those vendors. But about say maybe 2 or 3 years before I came on board, yeah, sure. But yeah, a couple years before I came on board, they took some components from the enterprise solution and made more of a direct model. Because they saw that a lot of managed service providers were, hey, they're partners. Like make something for them, but on a more direct model. So that's how we came up with our Advantage program, and that's where I kind of got the idea for the growth stack. So
So
yeah, as Dan mentioned, I go out to a lot of shows. Haven't been out as many this year, because now I'm kind of working on both sides of the house here. But
if
this
I
is
can,
a
if I can,
presentation I've done before and kind of use it as something loose to follow off of. But yeah, Mike, I think you had a
yeah,
question.
yeah. So you said that you started off setting appointments, trying to get people to agree to appointments.
Hmm.
Those are like the calls where you say, "Hey, I think this is a good fit for you. Can I schedule a call?" And then somebody else comes on that call, right?
Hmm.
So you're doing that. and then you said 4 months later, you closed deals. Does that mean that you started off setting the appointments, but then by 4 months, you were the one that somebody was scheduling appointments for you? Or does that mean that because
Yeah.
you got them to agree to a call, a deal was closed?
Yeah, so when I first got in here, it's basically cold calling to set stuff up, learn the terminology. I had zero clue of managed services, what even you guys did. Didn't know what the acronym MSP meant. So I
Again,
was hired
most of
for
us
sales
don't either.
originally.
It's Michigan State Police, right?
Yeah.
Michigan State Police. Yeah.
So, but I was hired for the sales role, but boss is like, just set appointments for the first 2 months. No pressure, cut your teeth, where you're not on a quota or having to do anything. Nice, easy transition. And that was such a good way. And anybody else we've hired after that, I'm like, we're doing it this way because it works. But yeah, to answer your question, Mike, the first 2 months, I was just calling, setting up appointments. My other colleague that worked with me, basically I scheduled him on his calendar. And then when he would do the demos, I would sit in with him so I could learn how to do them. And if they closed, we just split that one. So
Okay.
basically for the first 2 months, it was building up my pipeline. And then, after that, I got to keep everything on my own. But for those couple ones that came in that month, we just split the commission on them.
But it was 2 months before you actually got someone to agree to a meeting.
Oh, no, not to agree to the meeting, actually to close. I mean, yeah, I was setting those up
okay.
every week.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah, and what I would do, I don't know if you consider it shady or not, but I would call somebody up and be like, hey, Mike, Eric here at My Matrix. How you doing? Good. Hey, I saw you requested some info on our MSP Advantage program. I just wanted to see if you're free in the next couple of days. Be like, what the hell's that? So like, oh, sales and marketing. Were you looking for help with that? If you said no, I'm like, okay, maybe you clicked on some, send you some info, follow up with you later. You're not looking. Why am I going to push? There's nothing to be had there. But if you were, hey, maybe you did click on something. I'd just give you a couple sentence blurb about it, and then I'd set the appointment. I always went into every call thinking, hey, you requested something from me, so I'm just following up with you. That worked great. It really did. At first I was a little uncomfortable with it, but once I saw the other results there, I'm like, hey, this is good. Because you're getting a
So
quick
you were
answer.
using that line whether or not they'd actually.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you get a quicker answer then. If they're not looking for anything, nope, okay, good. I'm not going to go down that route. And if you get the yes, then hey, awesome. Maybe diamond in the rough there. You make X amount of calls, hopefully get this amount there. Just a different way to get a higher conversion, to get that appointment set. But another thing I would do too with that was, I go onto their site a little bit, see a couple things. It's kind of that permission-based qualifier. And if they say, hey, I was looking for this, I often come across, a lot of MSPs, they have trouble with this, that, and the other. Does that sound like something there? Yeah, we do this. I'm like, well, I saw you do that. Good. We want to set some time up, show you how we operate here. Again, just kind of filtering that out in the process, because I don't want to set a BS call up. I won't really want to know, is there pain? Is there a need? Because I'm setting the calls for myself, so I'm not going to set up garbage for me.
Yeah.
Because that's sometimes where you run into when there are other people setting up, because of like, all right, I got to get 5 calls set for Mike this week. Whether they're good or not.
Yeah, because we promised this number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't ask how I know that.
Yeah. I mean, we had an organization doing that for us at one point. And I remember going to an appointment and, and I began just by saying, tell me more about, what intrigued you about meeting today? What was it that, was of interest? And he's like, I don't know. Your guy that called me just said that we should speak. And, so that call literally lasted maybe 5 minutes. And I said, well, is there anything of interest? I mean, and this was an in-person meeting. That was probably a half hour away from our office. And
there's an hour out of your day.
Yeah. And I'm like, well,
hour and 5 minutes.
Right. And I felt really bad because, I mean, the guy just said, sure, I'll take a meeting. But on the flip side, I mean, I'm wasting his time as much as I'm wasting my time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, And I said, so is there anything specific that, from a technology? No, we're good, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, you know what? I don't even want to waste any more of your time. I think we should just cut it here. And he's like, okay, I agree. And so, yeah, I mean, qualifying is so critical.
Yeah, there has to be that need, or it's just an informational call. You could do that with
Right.
a campaign. They could go to your website and get information. Like, you don't need to set an appointment for that.
Right.
So, like with our channel stuff, those are, it's enterprise. So that first call, it is more informational. There's a lot you got to dig through there to determine, is there even an opportunity here to be had? But on the MSP side, it's like, is there a need? Yes or no? If it's yes, set it. If not, let's move on. The
Right.
best appointments setting I've always done, it's been myself. Even when I've had people set stuff up for me, I mean, because you know what you want the best. And finding that one person that can do that is such a diamond in the rough. But if you do find them, take care of them, hang on to them, keep them happy, and they'll keep
Yeah.
you happy.
It's about the golfing angle here.
Yeah. So with golf, I mean, there's three facets of the game. You got to drive the ball, short game, and then putt. You got to do all three if you're going to play a hole. As much as I'd love to pick the ball up off of the green and avoid another 3-putt, can't do that.
Sure.
So with the growth angle here, there's really three separate angles. Actually, let me share my screen here. Oops. Oh, there we go. So with any company out there, I mean, these funnels are pretty much the same. Your ICPs, getting in front of them and reaching out to the best of the bunch. Drive the ball, short game, and putt. Now, depending on the hole, I mean, there's a lot of options you can do within all three of those, but you got to do a little bit of all three. And just like with this, I mean, there's a lot of options you can do, but a little bit of all three. So one of the biggest things, whenever I'm on a demo, with MSPs and we're talking about everything, opportunities is what's needed, but it takes some to get them up there. I mean, some you get to slam dunk right off the bat. Somebody had a bad experience. There's an immediate need right now. Those are the best. But one of the biggest things is determining who's your ICP, your ideal client profile. Do you want professional services, doctors, attorneys, accountants, certain sizes, or manufacturing or whatnot. And it's good to have at least maybe 2 or 3 niches within there. It helps with SEO and everything like that. But also too, you want to get into that sort of niche and find that to see, hey, what kind of industries do we have our best margin with? Who's the easiest to onboard? What kind of companies give us the least amount of problems? Because we do want to work, as easy and smartly and as efficiently as we can throughout the day. I always tell people, when you're ordering off the menu, you pick what you want, but if something's coming inbound, I mean, hey, as long as it fits and the money's green, take it on there. But finding those ideal client profiles, I mean, there's a multitude of ways you can do this. I always say, treat it like your investment portfolio, diversify so you reduce your risk. We did a bunch of this stuff, and trade shows were my bread and butter. And then March 2020 hit. No more trade shows.
Yeah.
But we were still getting form fills. We still had everything else working around. So guess what? It didn't hurt us that bad. We just focused on more of the others. But if it was only trade shows, then we sunk in scrambling and trying to figure out what to do, and probably would have lost 3 or 4 months. So I don't think you need to do every single one of these, but just mix it up a little bit. Don't put all the eggs in one basket. I know everybody does word of mouth and referral, but having more downloadable objects on your website is good. I think we have like 40 on ours, so I don't think we need that many. But if somebody comes on there, I don't care what they download, just as long as they pick one. But I want to make sure that they have options.
And are you tracking? So I got 2 questions. Are you tracking what's being downloaded?
Oh yeah, yeah. Every click, piece, anything that happens, we're tracking it all. We love metrics.
Nice. And then the other question I had is, we had a conversation, I believe it was last week, about referrals, and we talked about incentives for referrals. I can't remember who was talking about it, but just how you give maybe equal to 1 month of of service as a credit, as a referral, those type of things. I think there's different methodologies. That was Jay.
Yeah.
And I think, what we found is that, just organic referrals are really just the ones that just happen, They just say, hey, I know somebody that needs help, are the ones that truly just work. But when we try to incentivize them through some type of offering, it really doesn't work from what we've seen. Can you give a little background in that area?
Yeah, well, I would say not so much it doesn't work. They just don't do it. If they would
Okay.
actually do it, it might work. But
Yeah. So it doesn't work.
well, you know what I mean. I wanted to
Yeah.
differentiate.
Sure.
Yeah, I was talking with somebody last week. They have brought that up and they were just changing theirs around a little bit. And she said, we've gone to $2,500 in a brown paper bag if they close. You send it somebody, they come on board, there's your stack of cash.
How much money did you say?
2,500.
Okay.
Yep.
In a
a
brown paper
brown
bag.
paper sack.
Yep.
That way your
Who doesn't
wife
love a
doesn't
bag
need
full
to
of
know.
money?
Yeah.
All ones. No, I'm just kidding.
Yep.
But still getting it out there, to Eric's point there, these are great, but they just sort of happen organically and it's tough to get it going.
Right.
Does everybody keep them in their email signatures, or is it listed anywhere, or what's everybody do?
I mean, that's a great idea. I think email signatures, just making that top of mind for them. I think that's a good subtle way of making it happen.
Yeah, I need to tweak mine up because my signature is a little too busy and might not get found in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Is anybody putting it in their signature? No.
I think I will now.
Yeah. It's worth a shot, right? I mean, and again, those are the type of things that don't cost us anything, and you throw it out there, and it's not like it hurts by doing it.
Another idea I had that I was talking to her with is like a biannual push on that. Maybe May or June, and then right after Thanksgiving. Hey, it's the annual referral, friends and family, something this, that, if you know anybody, blah, blah, blah. And I was thinking quarterly, but then it's more of an event if it's biannual.
Right.
Just keep it simple like that. And then in the meantime, hey, let how it works, organically always come to you. But we're not putting too much stock into it. It's not taking too much time off your plate. And then it's more of that event. Just like cars do with their annual Toyota days or, whatever.
Right. And Norm, we're talking about the signature is just the referral opportunity. Just something simple. I mean, it could be something as far as enjoying our service. Tell your fellow business associates, something like that.
Happy with service, earn some money.
Yeah, exactly. And
that top part, though, that is the biggest challenge that I've seen, just working with MSPs, just filling that pipe to get in there. Once you have something good rocking here with that top part, the rest of it's pretty easy because you're all just filtering it down in here. That way you can stay in front of them with, email drips, social automation, blogs, everything there. And I know email is just, I probably get 30 or 40 a day for people pitching me stuff. You guys probably get a lot more, but it's still one of the top pieces out there. I mean, I think it was what, Dan, that stat, 48 billion email accounts out there for something. It was a lot more than I originally thought. But I mean, I still get mail and, physical
Can we
stuff.
talk about, so the email thing? I'm like I'm basically building out a job description for an admin assistant or office manager because I get more email than I can look at in a day. Does anybody else have somebody looking through their email to weed out stuff like that? And then what would you tell them about marketing emails like that?
Oh,
I mean, I at one point I would have an office manager kind of just kind of sift through email. I don't these days, but it's something that could be of value. Especially if you're, more deeper ingrained into your MSP where, you might be away from your email for some time and, you could have somebody monitor that and catch things that might be, of, some level of urgency. And while I'm speaking here, I just threw in 4 different things that Gemini indicated, which I think are great. Ready to share the love, refer a friend today and get rewarded. Know someone who needs IT services, managed support, something to that extent. Refer them and earn a bonus. Love our services, refer a friend, and both of you get a bonus. So those are some good ones. Help your friends and colleagues by referring them to your company, plus earn a bonus for each successful referral. So, they can't hurt. So,
I saw once, like I get a ton of stuff on LinkedIn, and there was one that caught my attention, and I was like, this could work. They said, are you 100% confident in your MSP's ability to secure your network or something like that? So it's kind of an open question. And the only people that are going to respond to that are the ones that are having an issue with their MSP or kind of suspect something's up. And they're the ones that are going to be like, well, let's talk. And
yeah,
I thought that was a really, really good approach to it.
or the focus on it, has your technology been audited? Just are you sure that you have all the proper levels of protection? So kind of, I hate to focus on the FUD, right? But kind of, getting them to question, what? We don't know what we don't know. Is my MSP truly taking care of me? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that if they're responding to that, they're coming in warm because
Right.
they've already got some doubts and they want to talk. So
yeah.
Yeah, that's why I like a good amount of forms on the website. The way there's a little bit of variety, because when somebody just comes in and willingly gives you that info, like there's a need. They have the best conversion rates there.
Right.
And anytime I see one, it's just like, oh, goody.
You're right.
I just saw on your website you have like that conversion calculator and stuff, and of course you fill out the form and you're only going to get the results if you put in your email address.
Yeah.
Which cool. That works.
Yep.
Do any of you have salespeople, or are you all doing sales yourself?
Just me. Well, my partner too, but mostly me.
Just myself.
Have you ever had any salespeople, or?
We've tried it in the past, and this is where I've learned that, and I'm not saying salespeople don't work, but in my experience, nobody sells better than the owner of the business, the owner of the company. They see that passion, they understand that you're the one that's, the face of the organization. But again, I say that just from my own experience, and I know that there's many MSPs out there that have salespeople that are very successful for them.
Yeah, I think too, when you're dealing with small businesses and you're going to deal with the owner, they like talking to the owner as well.
Right.
Even enterprise stuff, I always bring Harbinger in at the end.
Gotcha.
It's a good cherry on top.
Right. All right.
Yeah, I think if you do get back into the, hiring a salesperson, the way I came in here is what I would recommend. One, look for somebody that's going to make those calls. Somebody that maybe worked at a call center like AT&T, Verizon, somebody who's comfortable speaking with people on the phone, who had to deal with a lot of resolution because people are only calling them when there's an issue. So they get, yelled at a lot. And this will be a change because they probably won't be getting yelled at as much. But when you bring them in, it's like, hey, this is going to be your job for 3-4 months here, making the calls there. You don't have a quota. I want you to set these up because these are going to become your deals that you're going to get paid on. I'm going to show you how to meet with these people. That way you have a nice process to slowly transition them into that salesperson. That way they're not trying to learn everything on day one, going out and hunting deals. Like that way I came on, it was just the best way. I had a quicker onboarding than any other company I've been at. In fact, every other company I was at, it took me about a good 6-7 months to catch on. Like I always thought I was going to get canned. But then once I caught on and, it was off to the races.
Right.
Here, I mean, it just the way they did that, it facilitated things. That's why I'm harping on it so much here, because I knew it worked. And it did with everybody else that brought on afterwards.
Well, I
And
think
that
the
way-
challenge, if you don't mind me just jumping in, I think the challenge is that, when an MSP hires a salesperson, they forget the fact that there is a difference between sales and marketing. And marketing drives sales, and you still need to have marketing in place because that salesperson that you're hiring isn't necessarily going to be your marketing person.
Right.
They're, maybe so expecting a person to do sales and marketing is like expecting is essentially like us as MSPs starting out, we're wearing all those hats and you can do it, but you're going to struggle. You're not going to be highly successful at the start. It's a lot of work, and you still
If I had
need
to do
all
that
those.
when I first started, it would not have been good.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you got to have those marketing initiatives in place to be able to, to have that person then go out and do sales. And you can do cold calling, but you also still need to get, email marketing out there. You need to social media marketing. You need to build that top of mind awareness, that name recognition. And without that, it can be a challenge, major challenge.
Absolutely. And that's why before, if you're going to bring somebody else back on, you want to have those top two locked in place. You don't want to do them all at once. It's just going to be, too much, too quick, too soon, recipe for disaster with anything. I mean, the top there, that's always going to change. I mean, it does for us every couple of months. We try to ride the hot hand. But that middle layer, I mean, I've always had an email go out once every 14 days since I started here, and posts go out Monday through Friday. That has never stopped. Because whatever we get up here, in a perfect world, you have a yes or a no out of everybody. But you might have, out of 100, you might have 1 yes, 9 no's, and you have no clue what's going on with the other 90. And that's where you need to stay in front of them. Because who knows, 8 months later, I mean, they might need something. 4 years later, they might need something. But when you bring that salesperson in there, even if you're just going to have them, making calls for the first 3 or 4 months, they can learn the products and everything else before they're fully responsible for sales and then bring you in for the close. You want to make sure you have a process that you can plug them into on day one with everything else here already in motion. Because they're overhead until they bring some business in the door. I mean, this is dead weight until that. So the quicker it happens, the better. Like when I first started, Harbinger only gave me a few things to utilize. He didn't want to inundate me with a bunch of items. So I kind of had 2 pieces, with just the cold calling aspect. I had 3 emails, prospecting email 1, 2, and 3. They all said a little something different about us. And I would check them out on LinkedIn. I would take a block of 50 contacts. I think I had like 1,200 in there. They were all put on a drip campaign, non-salesy info. Once every 14 days, it hit them all. So I had a 7-touch process. Pull up number 1, check them on LinkedIn. If they're involved in management, marketing, or sales, I reach out and connect because I wanted to talk to you. And then it was call, voicemail, email, call, no voicemail, email, call, voicemail, email, move on. And I'd dig 50 of those and get those 7 touch points over 3-4 days because I wanted to catch them at different points in the day as well too. And then I moved to the next 50. When I got a hot lead, if somebody, their score went over a certain threshold, or if they filled out a form online, then I put them into the playbook. And there was a 9-step process in there, which was a little more white gloved, because they're hot, they're engaged, they filled something out, you want to take special care of these. And it was a similar process to that, except, more pointed questions if they picked up, if they didn't pick up, here's the voicemail you leave, or if you get the gatekeeper, some questions to ask them, you pivot based off of what happens. And I only maybe had 10 or so people in there at a time because they were the best of the bunch. But using that as step playbook and just kind of going through the questions, learn the terminology, and just on repetition, that helped me learn quicker, to get up to speed. That way, when I was done with my calling, I had a pipeline, I had people on drips, there was activity in there. Like, it wasn't like, okay, I'm starting at 0, I got to hit this quota now. I hit the ground running with that, and that gave me all the confidence in the world, and it made it a lot easier.
Mike, just about a question that if a young person was thinking about getting into sales, would you recommend a summer job like the Southwestern, where they teach how to go door to door selling books for the summer? What else would you recommend? I think there's a lot of door knocking opportunities out there where, it really, I'll use my son Quentin as an example. I mean, he was doing door knocking for a company called Weed Man, and they do fertilizing. And just to
You got to be
clarify,
careful nowadays.
yes, and he was going
That's
door
good
to door,
marketing.
and and you get the door slammed in your face. Some don't survive because they truly find out this is not for them, because
Yeah.
that is not always for everyone. Those that do make it through that process, either will move to inside sales within that organization. That's what happened for Quentin. And Quentin then transitioned to doing, appointment setting for me for everything MSP. And now he's at PAX 8, and he's in week 2 of training. He'll be on their appointment setting team. And, I think if you go out and you find someone that had been doing door knocking for somebody selling, whether it's windows, like doing appointment setting, because those guys that are doing the door knocking, I mean, they're setting appointments essentially, right? They're not closing deals. But it could be for windows, it could be for fertilization, it could be for bugs, like exterminators, those type of things. And if you find a young kid that's been doing that and has made it through, and you say you want to take it to the next level, you want to get, because again, what they're doing a lot of times, like fertilization, they might feel like, well, it's not really a professional service. And, the idea of being able to sell IT services and maybe do door knocking, for an MSP, I think that's a great thing. If you can say, hey, are you ready to elevate and take it to the next level? So Mike, if you find somebody like that, be throwing out on Facebook, does anybody have any sons or daughters that have been doing any kind of door knocking for service, and they're looking to, take it to the next level? Does anybody know anybody? You might get some kind of referrals that way.
You guys know Josh Peterson from Barron McKinley, peer group life?
Yeah.
He told me a long time ago that sometimes people will have him help them, hire salespeople. And he said one of the things that really stands out is that the guy's got on his resume that he worked at a rent-a-car place, which I thought was odd, but he said they're good.
Interesting.
Yeah, my wife worked for Enterprise out of college. There's a bunch of stories around that, but they do try to ram it down your throat that you need to upsell them on the insurance and stuff and that kind of stuff.
Well, and those organizations have, professional sales programs, right? Or professional training programs that get them, to meet certain policies and procedures and standards. And, they've got their proven, sales models. And,
Yeah.
And that's a great way that let them get practice with someone else like that. They might not be happy with these large, corporate enterprise worlds and the quality of the work and, and the experience that they're getting, and being able to work for a smaller company, and to be able to take that knowledge and bring it into a smaller company might be attractive for them.
I had a sales manager at Morgan Stanley once. She said, she liked to hire bartenders. They're good with people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To the
my
knowledge.
my best
Mm.
help desk people had experience waitressing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Yep.
communication, soft skills. You know, they're going
Exactly.
to teach them the product and everything.
But I don't know if I would recommend to someone wanting to do help desk to go waitress. Whereas, and
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
someone like Quentin or one of my boys, if they wanted to do sales, I see there's some things out there where they train them very well,
Right.
and others where they just kind of throw them to the wolves. So
Yeah, and I think that, I think most MSPs when they are hiring, and I say this to some extent from personal experience, we do throw them to the wolves, because we don't have a formal sales training program. We might sit down with them and go through the process, okay, here's what needs to be done, and then just go do it, right? I think the problem is that for most MSPs is that you're so busy doing what you're doing, you don't necessarily have all the time to commit to train them properly. And of course, and we all want someone that can hit the ground running day one, right? We want that ideal person, and we got to understand and realize that it is going to take some time and effort to bring them up to speed and get them to where they need to be.
No,
Well,
absolutely.
the reality is we as MSPs have no idea how to manage salespeople
True.
because in a lot of ways, I don't think that we know how we sell.
Yeah.
And
That's
we
why
don't
the
have
larger ones have sales managers.
correct.
Yep.
How many
Exactly.
how many various products do you all sell and solutions?
Hundreds.
One.
Depends what the customer needs.
I mean,
yeah,
in the perfect world, one, right? We're out there trying to sell a fully managed solution,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but that's comprised of lots of components.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Thinking,
But I think in the perfect world, that's our direction, and we're focused on instead of being a la carte, because if we're not selling a fully managed solution, then we're still focused on break fix and and more of those a la carte individual services. In whether right or wrong, everybody has their own, unique thought process as far as do we only sell managed services or are we willing to, sell something that's individualized, maybe it's, backup disaster recovery, some type of business continuity as the foot in the door. Whether it be foot in the door or as, it's just, hey, it's just money. It's another stream of revenue. I prefer to sell fully managed and take over the entire management of their entire management of their technology instead of trying to individualize and sell individual components. But that's it's all preference.
yeah, I think probably one of the easier ways to not inundate them with so much is, again, back to when I started here, Harvard only gave me a few things to work with. So I couldn't go get confused about other things. When I mastered them, then I got more. But I mean, my pitch was simple. Hey, reaching out, saw you're interested, whether you were or you weren't. If they asked what it was, I had like 3 or 4 bullet points. That was it. I shut up, I booked the call, and then I watched and learned on the demos. And then over that course of time, I started to learn what more of those bullet points meant. And then I could dig down even further, like, okay, this does that because that does this. You learn the industry more as you're ramping up them because, from day one with all the products that you have, it's impossible to learn them all. And they're probably not going to need to know the nitty gritty of all of them either. You doing the implementation with the tech, what's happening there. They just have to tell you what's on the menu. They don't need to, tell you how it's made. But
So
yeah, very simple transition. Rather than getting that guy right up front or girl that can hit the ground running, you're going to have to make that person. I mean, you can find them diamond in the rough. They're out there, but it'd probably be easier to make that person and quicker and less expensive.
Right. Now you mentioned that you're sending out you've got a whole series of emails that you're sending out each week. And I mean, you guys have that platform. I'm assuming you use your own platform for that. And, so that makes life a lot easier. What does that platform look like for an MSP? How can we leverage your platform, and what does that look like?
Yeah, so ours focuses on these bottom two pieces right here. And that middle one there, that's the marketing portion. So its job's very simple. Keep consistent automated engagement with a multiple pronged approach. Full email marketing automation engine. So drip emails will go out once every however many days you set them for. It'll track their score and activity. If their score crosses a certain level, it can notify you. If they perform a certain task, it can notify you in real time. That way you can reach out to them while they have IT on the brain. But it also automates social media and blog. So we can add the company's LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, your own personal LinkedIn's in there. That way, when a post is pushed, it goes through all those accounts at once. We could set that up daily, every other day. There's video personalization, print, and I think we have like 600 landing pages that already have e-guides and web forms built into them. That way you have more downloadable options on your website. They're all editable, so they don't have to look like anybody else's. We can just send you the form code, put them wherever you want on your site. But the marketing portion, it's 100% automated. I mean, I can take the rest of the year off. My database isn't going to know. And that frees me up to do a bunch of other things, travel, hunting for more people to fill into the pipe, doing demos, things that make the company money, not doing all the busy work here. And if you do have salespeople, we have playbooks that have a step-by-step outreach process with that, what to say, how to say, and when to say it. Everything's branded, personalized. I mean, playbook was crucial for me here, because it saved me from being down, Carpenter's door every 5 minutes. Hey, they asked this, what do I send, or what's that mean? And then we have some content plugins too. But that's the platform. It's the infrastructure and the delivery vehicle. But then we fill it with a lot of material. There's like 3,000 pieces of content in there. It's vendor agnostic, covers all topics within managed services, branded, personalized, credentialed. We give you ownership over it because, everybody's different. So if you want to change anything up, have at it. It's a lot easier to change a couple of sentences and, build a template and then come up with the copy from ground zero. But you can add your own stuff in. Any vendors you're partnered with, like if you're a Dell partner and they give you access to their collateral, we can add it in here and it will co-brand and personalize. But everything's built right into it. I usually tell people what you're seeing on the screen is like buying a house that came furnished. You might want to move a few things around, but you've got to bring your stuff in, which would be your contacts. Now, where we differ is we give you the human help and guidance to go with it. There's a concierge team. They're there to do all your grunt work. Stuff anybody can do. Importing contacts, segmenting them, content editing. I love the concierge. Even easy stuff, I send it to them. I do zero busy work. The only time I'm doing something, I'm on a call or I'm on the road, revenue producing activities. And then we have a consultant that gets you onboarded and set up, which is 2 calls. But they meet with you monthly afterwards for the lifetime of while you're with us. So they can go through the reporting, the activity, help make tweaks and adjustments. It's their job to help drive success of this for you. They're like your fractional marketing person. And then depending on what you're using CRM wise, we can sync up to it. But it's all your relevant material built into multiple automations to keep you top of mind, right stuff for outreach with the human help and guidance. So back to that, we cover everything but the top. So what I usually tell clients for success is add people to it, quality over quantity, call on them when they're hot, and meet with your consultant, tweak and adjust, rinse, wash, and repeat. Now you do that, even if it helps you bring in 1 new logo a year or help you retain 1 logo, it pays for itself. But that top is that's a challenge.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem. Getting the eyeballs on it.
Mm-hmm.
You can have the best content, but unless somebody's looking at it,
Yeah, we're not just gonna say like, oh, you need to fill this out. Like, we want to provide you ideas on that. Don't just want you staring into the abyss. And it's like, hey, if you go outside and 6 doors down, there's a bunch of leads. You gotta go get them though. But each consultant, they're probably working with 25, 30 other, service providers. So we want to share best practices if something worked, or it's like, hey, I was thinking of doing a PPC campaign. Do you have any clients that did it? yeah, this one tried it and they did this and it was awful. This one tried it and man, it was great. You know, here's what you should do, but it's up to you to go execute that. I only add people into my system that I met at a show, or they filled out a form or came to referral. Like there's only good stuff in there. Because then when something gets hot, I know it's qualified. It's like, hey, that was somebody I wanted to speak to. So you don't have to do a spray and pray approach. I mean, you can kind of go as fast or slow as you want, but it's just keeping how you're relevant in front of the people that you want. And then it telling you, hey, here's the ones maybe you should check in with now. They're the most interested. Organization is the biggest thing that I've gotten from this. And then the concierge, you know, taking a lot of time off of my plate with the busy work. So I could just focus straight in sales.
Yeah, I think that's a critical part, right? I mean, because I mean, the phrase that always comes to mind when we talk about sales and marketing is that if it were easy, everybody would be doing it.
Mhm.
And you know, it comes down to finding the right approach that works for you and your market. Do you see much difference, you know, market by market? You know, are you guys, you know, as you are working with MSPs, you know, maybe somebody in Southern California, or versus Pennsylvania, Michigan, you know, Alabama? I mean, are you seeing that like much has to be tweaked and adjusted based on different areas of the country?
Little bits, but not much. And maybe some of the more competitive places like, you know, Manhattan, you know, New York. You want to tweak it all. You got to stand out more because there's just so much up there.
Vertical is probably more important to focus on.
Oh yeah, you got to be niche up there. I mean, if it's just generalized, it's going to be tough. You know, because if you're like, let's say you're just focused on dentists only, you're probably gonna have a better chance of getting into there versus everybody else that maybe does a little bit everything. You know, it's going to
Sure.
pop up with SEO better. You know, it's just going to position you more. And then if you have a specialty, hey, I do everything, but that guy's special. Well, if I'm the dentist, I want the special guy. I need to know it's going to work because he works with all kinds of dentists.
Right.
One that does a little bit of everything. Yeah, I mean, 2 or 3 niches. The ones that are the easiest to onboard, maybe have the best margins. I mean, we don't want to work harder than we have to.
Yeah.
But I would think if you're looking to hire that person to come back in, you want to have a lot of this in place first. Start looking into some things like networking. There's one in New Jersey. I spoke with a guy. I Googled networking for lawyers. Or no, it was Florida. I actually found something. He's going to this. He's like, I need leads to put in here. So I just went and Googled with him, like, all right, what's your verticals? And like, I'm gonna do a little bit of the work here for you, but you got to go to the event.
Right.
Start thinking about a couple of those things. You know, I block off maybe 4:30 to 5 on a Friday when you don't want to do anything else, just to look at this, keep it on the desktop. But with looking for people in there, you know, kind of going back to those customer service people from any of the telcos, somebody that's comfortable with that. And then start putting out, you know, maybe some questions. Think about how you walk through a presentation with a client. Put down the steps, and then what can you simplify from that? Because you know it inside and out. What would somebody reading it for the first time, how would they do it? You know, maybe a basic version of it. And I start looking for some folks. But before you hire somebody, I would definitely get the other pieces of these in place. Because again, you want to have them something to plug into. You know, when I sat down the first day, I'm like, hey, here's all my people. They're on a drip campaign. Here's your playbook. All I had to do was just start. We didn't sit there and figure it out together because that would have wasted a lot more time.
Yeah.
It's just little transitions. You know, don't do it all at once.
So we just have another couple minutes left. Does anybody have any final questions for Eric?
Bueller?
Anyone? Bueller? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
What's the number one piece of advice, Eric, that you would give to an MSP based on what you've seen in the channel?
Don't let perfect get in the way of good.
I love that. I love that one. My similar version of that is Guy Kawasaki. Don't worry, be crappy. Right? You know,
Yeah.
just get it out there.
Yeah,
Get it out there, because if you wait till you have it perfect, your competition's going to surpass you, and you're going to miss out on opportunities.
And the biggest reason is that don't let perfect get in the good. You know what perfect is, but they don't.
Yeah.
Good's good enough for them. Just get it out there to get yourself in the door and then do your process.
Norm has a question about physical letters. Does physical mail work? Do you have any
I don't
thoughts
think we
on
have
that?
any clients on it right now. About a 1%, I think ROI is what you could expect on that. Maybe 1 or 2. I think that's more industry focused though. Stuff like gutters, windows. I bought windows off of a flyer.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's the best metric is would you respond? Would you respond to it?
Right.
Yeah, they had a QR code on theirs. Like, hey, and they asked me, like, hey, what was the number on that? I'm like, oh, it was like 216 or something like that. That way they could calculate their ROI.
Right.
Yeah, they could send out a bunch of different flyers and then figure out which ones are generating the most calls.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Back to that A/B testing.
Yeah, I mean, we've even in the past done, like different phone numbers, throwing different phone numbers out there in our marketing. Hell, go dating really far back to the Yellow Pages days. We would do different phone numbers in the Yellow Pages than our primary number as a way from a tracking. So
that work?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, we are at the top of the hour right now. I did throw Eric's link in there for LinkedIn, and so definitely connect with Eric. And hopefully today was a good session for everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah, if anybody wants to see what it looks like inside or whatnot, I mean, let me know. Happy to walk you through it. I'm not a pushy guy. Info, walk you through, show you what's up, and go from there.
With that being said, Eric, thank you for your time. Everybody, thank you. And we'll either see you guys tomorrow or on Friday. Take care, everybody.